Good evening, everybody. Welcome to, another interview here. Tonight's guest is going to be Spencer Martin from Complexity. It is Cole Hiko. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good today. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm chilling, man. Just finished the cast for Star Series, Nip versus Fnatic, and I know that you watched.
I did.
What'd you make of the match, man? We can just go ahead and hop into it.
Well, the first map it was back and forth, and I kind of expected Nip to come back on CT side. It was, getting I think it was like 8-7 Nip first half on T side train, which if you ever took 8 rounds on T side, even if it was the other way, even if they had 7 rounds, that's a win in my books. We've seen them; their CT is really strong. And the second map, um, it was still. I mean, Fnatic had a lead for a while there. At least it looked close. At least I didn't really expect it to be that close, and obviously Nip hasn't. It seems like Nip has not been playing to their top performance lately. So I mean, obviously Nip won it in 2 maps, so congratulations to them. But I think if Varigame's starting to beat them again, and it looks like they're taking a lot more losses now online, and even at LAN they're losing maps. So I think they need to start stepping it back up again if they wanted to keep that #1 spot in the world.
Yeah, but like, what do you think is what do you think's their main? What jumps out to you as the main problem for Nip right now? Because yeah, you just said it. They're losing maps on land now, but they're losing it to very games. And this is kind of like the team we've been saying for a while now. Like they've got the skills to get the kills, but something's holding them back. And it feels like they found that something. Like they found whatever it was in their minds that was holding them back from beating Nip. It's finally all lined up. Uh, like Nip, do you think it's really that big of an issue, or is it just like they need to study what the hell they do against Very Games and start changing things up there?
Well, in Nip's case, I mean, if you ask any of the top teams, I almost guarantee you they all say if there's one team that you're trying to beat and there's one team you watch the most demos of, if you ask them that question, I guarantee you they all say Nip. So in Varigame's case, I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. Varigames really have never been able to beat Nip. I'm sure they're studying their demos after every single tournament, after every loss. They're just being like, okay, how do we lose this? What are they doing to us for us to lose? And at least in Varigame's case, they've lost so many times to them in a row that I think everyone's starting to get just kind of a feel now for everything that's being done but from Nip. Anytime you hit a bomb slate and you're expecting, get right to be on the other side of the map trying to get flank kills. Sometimes Force is doing that too. On their Inferno, they have a pretty unique Inferno, but it seems like a lot of people are starting to catch on with the fact that if Garrett isn't kind of off the other side of the map, they're going B. And you saw a couple times Bear Games actually took advantage of that with them pushing straight down middle and just sandwiching them in banana. So in Very Games case, I think they finally caught onto it. They watched what they needed to watch. They adapted to what they should have done, and obviously it's working out for them.
Do you feel like today we saw a little bit of that adaptation coming in from Nip, however, reacting to perhaps what Very Games did to them? Because it feels like for a while there, we were seeing their standard setup on CT, for example, was always, Freiberg solo on B with Get Right kind of floating as the man in the middle, in CT somewhere, he was supporting at Arch or he was going to B. But now we really saw, like today at least, in a lot of those rounds, they had 2 men solid on B the entire time. It was Freiberg and Get Right sitting on B that whole time. Do you think that was an adaptation that they made from their matches yesterday versus Very Games?
I think that's not only adaptation to teams, but it's also kind of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of teams more and more are starting to go for that, delay walk into B. Sometimes they don't even throw nades, they just walk in. So if they do that, and again, it seems like a lot more teams are starting to do this, to only have one in the site, it's really challenging to hold it. And I mean, you saw Very Games do the same thing. They played 2 dedicated B most of the time too. And I think that that's going to start being the new meta where you'll have 2 guys towards the B full time, and then maybe the guy near Arch will play more near Arch instead of going to the site,
Mm-hmm.
and be okay with the fact that the 2 guys at B are going to be late to rotate, and maybe those guys at B will have 2 guys flanking, and maybe that'll start catching people off guard too. So,
That just feels like the standard, at least for Inferno.
mhm.
But what do you think about I mean, seeing as how we're talking about Star Series right now, what do you think about the match that's coming up tomorrow, Astana Dragons versus Very Games, and it's going to be today when this comes out. So I mean, like Astana Dragons versus Very Games, what do you make of that?
um, Astana Dragons seems to. I mean, on paper, and a lot of their matches look really good. They look really solid. They look like a team that with a lot of promise. But for some reason, they lose a lot of the time to teams that I wouldn't expect them to lose to. And I'm expecting their games to take it, but the way that the Russians play and the Ukrainians, whatever, trying to be politically
Hey,
correct
let's
here.
get it right, huh? Yeah. Careful.
However, the way they play, I think it kind of works against video games because video games tried to play a very, standardized, very compact kind of play style. I think maybe Asana Dragons might be able to run over them because of that. At the same time, Asana Dragons might just kind of look lost when they're getting complete executed on. So I think we'll have to see. But I think I would probably put money if I had to on Very Games for tomorrow.
Well, it does seem like they're kind of the full package right now, don't you think? Like the way
Yeah,
when you watch them, they've got the aimers, they've got the individual skill to be able to just lock down frags left and right. But on top of everything else, you got all this hard work paying off now from developing strats for all this time. Like they just seem
right,
to have like the tactics for every map, and now they've got the punch as well to go with it.
right, exactly.
It feels like we're at the beginning of a new era here. I don't know, man. Like I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but Very Games just look like the team to beat at this point.
I wouldn't go that far. I
No,
mean, we still have the rest of the tournament to go,
oh
and
sure.
I think if they do end up playing Nip again in the finals, and they do end up beating them in two maps, maybe we can predict that. But I don't think I can say that yet.
It's too early,
Again,
too early in the game, yeah.
exactly.
Aye. Well, I mean, dude, we kind of like went off on a tangent, but I wanted to get a little bit a bit of your background in Counter Strike to begin with. Like, when did you even start playing Counter Strike? What got you into the game?
Uh, I started playing in probably 2003, 2004. It was 1.3 at the time. I came from playing like games like Diablo and StarCraft, like only at that time when I was a teenager back then, almost a preteen. So I was playing those games. I had a friend in high school or middle school at the time that he switched to Counter Strike because his brother showed him it, and we had this whole group of people that was we always played Diablo together, we always played StarCraft together. So he switched to Counter Strike, so we all kind of switched to Counter Strike with him, and we had a blast. I mean, we were pubbing. We were, I didn't really get serious in Counter Strike for a long time, but the kind of the typical Counter Strike start. You start pubbing. You play with your friends like every day. You get better and better. You go on to death matching and going into a random pub and being like, oh, you're pretty good. Why don't you join our teams? And that was I was a pubber probably until about 1.5, early 1.5, and I was on a bunch, obviously like pub teams and probably late 1.5, early 1.6 which is where most of the people might recognize my name, which is when I joined a team called SLP, which stands for Stack Like Pancakes, and we kind of had a cheater reputation. I mean, if you weren't in the US, you wouldn't have known who we are. But I was on the team for like 6 years. That's where I probably got a lot of my I guess where I became known, so to say, in
Right,
America.
your cred, your rep.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then, throughout 1.6, I played on a bunch of teams, Backfire, Glimpse of Reality, TAU, which is Texas Area Untouchables. Late 1.6, I was played up for Check 6, which that's probably what really put me on the radar as a player, which was me, Fraud, Storm, XP3, and Bizaman. And I mean, obviously everyone knows who Fraud and Storm are. And yeah, I mean, I switched to CS:GO really early in the beta. I wasn't playing 1.6 anymore. I wasn't playing for my team anymore. And actually, GB James, which some people might know who that is, he got me to switch, and I liked it. I never played Source. I switched right to CS:GO from 1.6, and obviously, if you want me to go over some of the CS:GO things I've done in the past little bit, we played the
Well,
first.
yeah, man. Tell me all about it. I want to hear.
All right, we played the first ESEA season of CS:GO, which was when the game was still in beta, and we won it. The roster was me, GB James, Pinecone, Dazed, and Mo. We won the first season. We got a spot in the ESA invite for the next season. We kind of made a little couple roster changes. We picked up Semphis and Shongairs, who's actually on my team right now. So it was me, Semphis, Shongairs, Dazed, and Pinecone for a while. We qualified for ESWC with Pinecone. After that, we got rid of Pinecone and picked up TCK, and
Like
kind
you
of
say that too. You got rid of him. Like
I
it was a
mean,
bad habit.
no, I mean, not. I don't mean it like that. I mean, I love Pinecone. He's a really nice guy, a really good person. The way that it kind of went down, I don't really agree with, and I don't want to get into that right now. But it wasn't the right way to do things, and I realize that. But obviously stuff happens, and you can't help most of the time. So past that, we went to ESWC with that roster as Area 51, and we placed third. And that really kind of was like, oh wow, look, the Americans actually can place in CS:GO finally, and the big scene of things. So that kind of put us on the map. After that, Sean quit, and we were 51 at the time, and then we joined Fornot right after that, which then later became Quantic. And
Oh,
as
okay.
Quantic, we went to that ESEA season and won it, which is just the Americans. We went to Copenhagen Games and placed fifth, sixth. We went to another ESEA as Quantic, actually two ESEAs ago, and that was where we beat Very Games and lost to NIP and placed second. And then after that, we kind of had an internal conflict, and the team kind of died.
Right,
And
right.
yeah, so the team died. I kept the Quantic sponsor for a little bit. We were Quantic for a little bit longer, and then we missed the Dreamhack, and we were picked up by Complexity after that. And that's kind of the recent stuff. We went to the last ESCA and placed second. We will be in Paris for the next ESWC, and
Oh, so you'll be there for November.
yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
We qualified for the MSI tournament, so we'll be in China at the end of November. We'll be at Dreamhack Winter also at the end of November, and then whenever the next ESCA should pretty much that's our schedule for the next
God
few
damn,
months.
man. That's what I remember. Yeah, because I was at Copenhagen Games as well, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, Quantic are here, and I was just cheering for you guys because you were the Americans. I was like, they're from across the pond. I got to show support. It
Right.
didn't click until just now that Hiko. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
all coming together.
I
But
think First was there too, so we actually had two American teams at Copenhagen Games, but
yeah, that's right. Curse were there, and then Curse were actually. I just remember
we
bumping into Curse boot camping as well at Inferno. But I
right.
don't think that was for Copenhagen. I think that was for DreamHack.
Uh, I think that was for one of the dream hacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool to actually see the American teams actually make their way out here. This is the kind of thing. I mean, it's kind of the mecca, isn't it? It's just like Europe is the center of Counter Strike.
Yeah, and we don't get to go over that often. So the next couple months, we have three trips, going to Europe and one to China, two to Europe, one to China. That's amazing for us. I mean, again, the only international tournaments we've been to, me, Semphis, and Shongers maybe, is the last CSWC and Copenhagen Games, and we haven't. I mean, those were what 6, 7 months apart.
Yeah,
So now we have three events, within a month apart. So I'm really excited.
that's the thing. Do you feel like you guys are prepared? Are you guys on point? You ready to bring your A game to this?
I mean, talking about preparedness, I think we're as prepared as we can possibly be as an American team, and maybe just want to go into that after we can. But I think we're definitely putting in the time so that I expect a good placing. I think all of my teammates expect that, and I think we're capable of it. So
Well, that's right. You got the boy Wonder on your team. You got swag, yo. I
yeah,
just want to be like, YOLO, what's up? This guy.
yeah, he's the little child of our team. Yeah, he's an amazing player, and
He is.
it's great to see these 16, 17 year olds just making a name for themselves, and he's able to travel, and he's able to he performs on land, so it's a really good feeling having somebody like that.
Yeah, he's always been kind of like the poster child for me as far as Counter Strike goes. Consider is concerned. It's just like for me, like he's 16, 17, and he's already playing at a professional level. Like this is the kid that you have to be focusing on and being like for the new generation of Counter Strike. Like look and listen, all you little kiddies who are coming in here to play Counter Strike. This guy, look at where he is now. You can be him too, and like
Right?
use him as like the poster boy. I want to use him to market CS:GO, but
Yeah.
that's just my approach. I guess it may not be the healthiest one or whatever, but there you have it. I still go back to when he threw his pistol and used
Yeah.
that to fake out. Was it MBK or
No, I think it was Kenny S.
it was Kenny S. That's it. It was
Pretty sure it
Kenny S.
was.
Yeah, and he used that to fake him out over on what was it, A Spot on Dust 2. All right, all
Yep.
right. So I mean, you have so much coming up. You're absolutely right. But this is the thing. It's like you're going out to China, and then you have DreamHack coming up right after. And this
Right.
is actually something I was curious about as well. Talking to Nip and Very Games as well. Like, does it concern you the fact that you guys are going to be traveling so much and then just playing back to back tournaments like this?
I mean, not really. We have, I think there's like 5 days or something between the MSI and Dreamhack. So I think what the plan is, we'll finish the MSI tournament on that Sunday, and I think we'll fly right to Sweden from there, which makes sense. And then we'll have 3 or 4 days to kind of get back on track, maybe even get a little boot camping in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm not that worried about it. I know all my teammates have traveled a lot before. I mean, Stemphis is Canadian, so he travels for every event we go to anyway. And obviously Jordan, nothing. I mean, he's been around forever and he's traveled like this a lot of times, so I'm not really that worried about it.
It's swag, man. You're gonna have to have the stash of Red Bull for him.
Yeah, I think he'll have enough energy, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, youth, huh? If only we could all get it back.
The youth and the Coke drinking.
Oh yeah, really? Is he really into the Coke?
Yeah,
Well then, caffeine is a friend of his. You got to get him on
exactly.
coffee, man. That's the key right there. Get him on top
Uh,
of that.
young people never drink coffee. They're always into that Coke and the energy drinks
It's the
and
sweets, man. It's the sugar.
that the candy. Yeah, exactly.
But it'll come. It'll come with time. But then again, if you guys set the right example, you get him off that sweet sugary stuff. You get him onto the coffee. There you go. See?
That's
Maybe
true.
you need
That's
it
true.
too. All right. So, I mean, already we have a couple different ways we could go with this, but I think we'll choose DreamHack first because this is kind of like the be all end all right now for the year for CS. I mean, you still have ESEA coming up at the end of the year as well, but DreamHack is kind of like the $250,000 prize pool, and clearly you guys are going to be there. Do you think like this is the answer for CS right now? This is what it really needed, this big tournament to bring everybody in.
I think this is a step in, a huge step in the right direction, and I think it needs to keep going like this. I think, for one tournament to be like this, that's amazing. This $250,000 in a prize pot is the biggest we've ever seen.
Shit.
So, I mean, I've heard that they're going to be putting their money towards every tournament that starts coming out in 2014. And if that's the case, I think we'll start seeing big enough prize pots to make it worth, the American teams to go to Europe and maybe even the European teams to start coming to America sometimes.
Hell,
But
even
at
the
the same
Chinese
time,
maybe.
right, exactly. If we can get the Chinese in this scene, that's a whole nother thing. If we can get the Chinese interacting in our community, that's a huge win for us too. But yeah, I mean, if Valve keeps putting money into these tournaments, and we're pretty much, if it starts getting soloably funded by the community, I think that's great. If it can keep going like that, and obviously if they keep coming out with these skins and these crates and these keys and everything like that, I think it probably can. These people, even me, everyone I talk to, I mean, when these new crates come out, the second they get one of the new crates, they immediately open them. So I mean, even if you consider the money that Valve makes off the market transactions on these crates, that I
Yeah.
think the latest crates, which have been probably a couple months old now, they're still for like $4 a case or $3. So Valve is still making good money off it. And if they're going to put a lot of that towards the tournaments, and kind of divvy it up and split it up to the big tournaments, I think that, that'll be something very good for us.
No, there's no doubt about it, especially since it's a working model. I mean, it's the community that are putting, they're getting that money off the community with esports cases. You're absolutely right. Like, I think it was like, what, 180K, give or take, cases sold in the first month for the esports, or keys,
Right.
rather, for the esports cases. I mean, that's mind blowing right there. Small wonder that we can get the DreamHack Winter prize pool boosted after that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so you're content with where the game is going right now as far as the additions, the recent additions and changes, the updates that have come out from Valve for Counter-Strike Go. You think like they're going in the right direction with the marketplace updates, and now we even have this watch feature that just came out. Are you happy with everything that's going on?
I think the watch feature is great. I think that eventually, if they can integrate that with the tournaments and kind of have what they have with Dota 2, where they have the casters integrated into the
Yeah.
game and Twitch at the same time, I think that'll be huge. And I think, I don't know for sure, but I would, if I had to guess, I think that's the direction they're going to end up going with it. And, the watch I think is great. Matchmaking sometimes is a little dry. Sometimes there's a lot of cheaters. Sometimes you just play against people that, don't have the same skill as you. But for the most part, I mean, again, if they can get that into like the tournaments and have the viewers in the game and out of the game, Twitch and in the game, I think that'll be great for us. And obviously, like all the changes they do, and everyone says all you hear all the pros saying, Valve actually does read everything. And if you have a question, if you have a comment or a concern that you want to address, just post it somewhere, and there's a good chance Valve will see it.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, we have it from them themselves. I mean, Exist even brought that up in his interview. He's like, they listen to everything, they read everything, they don't miss a beat over there. And really, I don't get the feeling that they do either. You know, really, they react to what's coming up in the community. There's no doubt about it. But I want to actually ask you, seeing as how this is kind of like a bit of a hot topic right now, is the use of Valve maps for DreamHack Winter. What do you make of that choice? I mean, Mirage in particular seems to be the big point of debate right here between a lot of the teams. Is like, do they want to play on the new Mirage or do they want to keep the old one?
Personally, the main maps, I like the main maps other than Train. I still think Train is not good. And I actually had a chance to cast the match on the Volcano Edition train, which is, kind of closer to 1.6, and I think that train is amazing. And I personally, if I had to choose, I would choose that one, and I would obviously, you already hit on Mirage. I mean, Mirage, the new Mirage, I don't really like. I'm colorblind, and just seeing that alone, the color of the walls really mess with my eyes sometimes.
Really?
So
Okay.
personally, so from a personal standpoint, I don't like the colors of the walls. And the old Mirage, the CS:GO or the CE edition, whatever edition people are using.
Yeah, the
I
C.
like the old. I like the CE edition more. I think it's closer to that's how it was in 1.6 towards the end. And I mean, as a 1.6 player, I would love to see a lot of the maps revamped towards 1.6. And the other map that I actually really like of Valve is Inferno. I really like the fact that they widened the halls, and that's a big thing for me.
There's no doubt about it. They've changed quite a lot on Inferno. I mean, they've gotten rid of the wall that's in the middle by bench. They've gotten rid of that.
Yep.
They've changed up car at the bottom of middle. They've gotten rid of that. They've opened up apps, as you say, and they've really tweaked Inferno quite a bit. But Mirage, just apart from the colors, if you disregard the colors, like what would you say needs to be changed? Like what stands out for you about that map that needs to be changed right now?
I think there's a lot of with most of the Valve maps, there's a lot of useless clutter and useless just things on the ground. And obviously the chickens, on all the maps.
Well, I think the
Who
chickens
cares
are,
for
there's going to be a chicken genocide. I'm not sure
Yeah,
that chickens are going to be allowed.
I think eventually that's what's going to happen too. People are just bashing the chickens, everywhere. But Mirage, for the most part, I don't really like the way that they set up the spawn, the A spawn ramp. The stairs.
Okay.
It's kind of odd that you can kind of jump on both the boxes, and I don't really agree with that. And the B site feels kind of awkward, and I like the way the old one is better, honestly. So that's just my personal preference.
All right. You don't think that it's the proper way to approach the smoke, just completely cutting off ACT then? Like the
Right,
CT
exactly.
ramps. You don't think that being able to jump on the boxes to see over that is the right answer?
Right. I think they should have done it like it was already. I mean,
Just leave it.
well, yeah, in the CE one, I mean, you could still jump on the boxes, but they're kind of already looking at you. But and then where like the E box is what we call it, that big ramp up into the on top of connector area. I don't know what the Europeans call these spots, but
But yeah, you have
ramp,
connector. I mean,
right,
like
right.
connector.
But they added the ramp instead of where you have to jump on the boxes. I actually like that. I like the fact that you can get up and down that a lot quicker than having to jump up on those E boxes and then jump up on the box. You can
To
run
get
up
into
there in one
B?
motion now. No, to get into A.
To get into A. Boxes?
Okay.
Oh, below window.
Right. No.
Oh.
No.
Okay. Well, then I'm obviously failing here.
If you run
To
up
get
the
into
middle,
the stairs. They've added stairs there. Is that it? Where
Right.
there's electric boxes now on the CE version.
right, exactly. I like the Valve edition. I like that it's stairs or a ramp now compared to you have to jump up on the boxes. I think
Right.
that it makes A little easier to hold.
See, that's names getting us crossed up there because we call
Yeah.
that stairs in Europe. If you're playing on the matchmaking, you're like, oh, he's on stairs, and okay, he's at connector. But calling it ramp is just. I was
Yeah,
like,
I
where's
have a
there a
problem.
ramp that this might be leading to? Okay.
Yeah. When I play with Europeans, sometimes it gets a little confusing because you guys have one way of calling this stuff and we have another way. So
Dude, nuke is like the worst. All of a sudden, you got like secret stairs, volcano for outside a yard, and then yellow hut house. Like,
exactly, Heaven, Wally, just everything is so different. So
no, yeah, it's just it's definitely it turns into a big tongue twister, and then you're like, well, shit. All right. Well, last thing I want to ask you, like about updates, is the movement changes. Like, are you happy with the acceleration changes that they made depending on which weapon you have? Because it seems like the AWP was the weapon, or the weapon the most impacted by this change. But do you agree with like where they're going, trying to slow, perhaps take away the peaking advantage?
I do like that a lot, yeah, and I think that for oppers especially, I don't really op, and I never
Mm.
really op, so I don't really grasp the movement change as much as maybe some of these oppers do. But I do know that it kind of prohibits the peaking, as you said. So I think that is a step in the right direction.
All right. Well, the last thing that I want to talk about real quick before we go is actually like the USC and ESEA. It really does seem like it's ESEA kind of the guys holding down the fort over there. But all right, how did you feel when the whole Bitcoin thing broke out with ESEA?
I mean, I think ESEA has been a company. They've been around for like 10 years, and they've been a
Mm.
company that really did strive on. I mean, there's been some problems in the past, but for the most part, there's really not been that many problems. I think that they've ran it well the entire time, and I it's unfortunate that it happened, and I was actually a victim of it, and it really messed my computer up.
Really?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, I didn't really make any action to try to get compensation or anything
You
for it
didn't get in on
because
that class action suit that was going down, man. Everybody was gonna get
uh,
money on that.
no, I didn't. And there were promises made to me from old organizations and other things that happened that it didn't really matter to me at the time, and
Hmm.
it's kind of to the point where it's almost too late now. But yeah, I think that it was a big putback to the American scene. Obviously, I mean the European. I think they had a European scene when the Bitcoin came out, right?
Well, sure. I mean, you
So
could still use the SEA servers. It was still, like you use that over matchmaking if you want 128 tick.
right, so it put them in a step back for a little bit, and I think they handled it right. The way they fired the guy, or at least the who they said was the guy who did it on his own, and they're trying to come back from it. And ESA gives back to the community a lot, so I think that unfortunately, it was a bad thing that happened, but they're coming back from it. I think pretty well.
Do you think they're coming back? Do you think they deserve to get some of this community money, some of this support from Valve to, build up on the ESEA tournaments that they're already running?
I think so. Obviously, again, they say they claim to not have had knowledge that was going on, and that was the sole. It happened by one guy,
It's
and they
just one
already
guy.
got
That
rid of
was
the
it.
guy. So, I mean, with that being said, sure, why not? Why not give them money? It's all that the lower American teams have, and it's all that a lot of the American teams can go to.
Mm. How do you
Used
feel?
to.
How do you feel about? I mean, how do you feel about this tournament that's about to come up? Actually, we got the group phase that's going to be starting soon, but then you also have, isn't it like the $95,000 tournament that's going to be wrapping up the year for them?
Oh, the ECA.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that it's actually going to be early January, maybe sometime in December, but I know
Oh
they
shit!
can't
I
get
heard
too close to.
December.
Well, I know
Okay.
they can't get too close to Christmas, so I don't really know when it's going to be. But with that being said, I mean, I'm excited for it. I mean, ESA is always, that's the one tournament that we have as Americans that we have four, sometimes five American teams show up for, and obviously it's on kind of our home turf. We Most of us only have to travel a few hours by plane to get
To
there,
get
and
there, yeah.
obviously any other tournament in Europe, it's 7 to 10 hours for most of us. So I like ESA, and I think that it's important for it to keep going for the American scene. And yeah, I'm excited about, especially this season's LAN. It's going to be amazing. I mean, it's going to be after all the big tournaments. It's going to be after a team wins DreamHack, a team wins ESWC, a team wins MSI, and it's
Yeah.
going to be that their turn to defend the title and in one of one of the last tournaments for a while.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Really quick, actually, I'm curious about that. How tight is the U.S. scene right now? Because you mentioned like three, four top teams, are actually getting over to ESEA. Like, how tight is the U.S. scene? Do you guys practice a lot together, or is it like scrims? I mean, who can you really practice with? What do you guys do for training over in the U.S. right now?
This is the question that we get any interview I ever do, anyone who ever has a question about the American scene. This is the
It's
question,
kind of
and
it, isn't it?
right, and this is not to use it as an excuse because I know a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you do this and why don't you do that to change it? But anyway, let me say what it is. There's
Enlighten
about,
us.
I would say we have us, we have not Curse, Denial now, maybe U5 that might be a decent contender. Um, maybe that reliable team. I mean, again, I don't really know most of the teams. They change their rosters, they change their name like every week. It feels like. But with that being said, for the most part, a lot of these teams they make roster changes. They hop from organization to organization. Just kind of leaving destruction in their path, kind of cutting their ties with a lot of people, burning their bridges,
This
and
doesn't
so a
sound
lot
too
of
healthy.
yeah, so a lot of these organizations, why would they even bother getting into CS if they've already been kind of screwed over by a team? That's kind of the organization side. The team side, when you ask us, how do we practice? Okay, here's our practice schedule. I'll take into we'll say a normal like a Tuesday night for us, where we go from about 8 to midnight. And we'll hop on at about 8 o'clock East, at night. We'll go, we'll do some strategies. Sometimes people will be later, if whatever. We'll do strategy till about 9. Usually, we'll sit in the server. The way we find streams in America, you sit in an ESEA server, you message somebody on Steam to try to get them to play you, and if there's not, then you literally just go to an ESEA server and wait for somebody to join. So a lot of times we'll hop in a server, 9 o'clock, 9:30, sit there till about 11:30, 2 hours waiting, no teams. We're just kind of pre-gaming, AFK, talking, messing around. The 16-year-old swag is just kind of trolling us. And 11:30 comes around, we'll get a scrim. There'll be a team that's worth playing, and we'll play one scrim, and then people have to go. It's already midnight, 12:30. You can't play out in ECA, so you play the 16 rounds. So a lot of times we'll go up like 13-2, win pistol, and then scrims over. You can't play out in ECA, so it's kind of annoying with that respect. And again, through that whole 2 hour time that we're waiting, we have teams joining our server, trying to play us, but their teams, their teams in like the lowest divisions of the game. They're just trying to be like, oh, look, we can play against Complexity. But for us, that's not practice. We can't run strats against a team that we're just kind of running over. You can't run strats against a team that doesn't have strats against you anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really challenging, and a lot of the nights, some nights we'll sit in a server from 9:30 till midnight without a single opponent to play. So some nights we don't even get to play at all. And then on the other hand, some teams just completely blacklist us and they refuse to play against us. For instance, Denial will not play against us. And it's always been like that. I don't understand why. I don't know. I know there's some bad blood between a couple of our members, but that shouldn't be a reason why they wouldn't play us. And
God damn.
And I've heard people like the person that comes to mind is Thorin. He actually had a really good analogy. If we don't play against each other, sure we might win. We might be able to say, oh yeah, we're the best American team. But in the long run, if we don't get the practice we need to against the other top teams that we have here, we're all kind of losers. We all don't get the practice that we need to get, and it's challenging. And I've tried to talk to these people, and I've tried to be like, okay, listen, well, we won't, let's put all the bullshit behind us, and let's just go, just play, get over everything, and let's just play. I don't really care for the politics. I just want to just practice. I mean, what's the point in fighting? What's the point in having these beefs if no one's really getting practice from it? So unfortunately, that's it didn't work. I've personally, our team after the last ESWC, we tried to set up, the way the Europeans do it, where you schedule your practices on Facebook, but people end up not doing it. And then the same thing happens where people just refuse to play other teams and there's just not enough teams to play. So I'm not trying to use that as like an excuse as to why, we don't have, the necessary practice. It's the way it is. And I wish it wasn't like that, but at this point, there's really nothing that can be done about it within the American scene, I don't think.
I mean, that was quite the comprehensive answer, and I'm at a loss pretty much because it's just like, why? Why wouldn't they goddamn practice? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to, put.
I mean, you're kind of throwing them under the bus. You're kind of being like that.
That's not the way I intended it, but at the same time, if that's what's gonna be what makes them play us and what makes them be like, hey, let's put all the bad blood and everything to the side and just kind of play. And not only that, but let me go into even further detail. When we do play some of these teams, this is another analogy that Thorin said. Sometimes they don't even use their strategies against us. Sometimes they just run around. I'm not going to put anyone on blast this time because I I'll learn my lesson from the last time. But so a lot of teams when we play them, the top teams, we'll say the top American teams, they don't run strats against us. They just try to run around and gather information from us. Okay, well if you're going to do that and you're not going to try to practice against us and you're not going to give us practice, what's the point in us practicing against you back? So it turns into a thing where okay, maybe one night we'll play against we'll say for instance denial, even though it's not what happened. They'll start running around, not running their strats, just trying to get a feel for what we do. And at that point, what's the point? We're going to start doing it right back to them because there's no practice to be had trying to run strats against a team that's just running around, not doing things correctly and not doing things the right way you're supposed to be doing them. So yeah, I mean that's the way it is, and that's what we've had to deal with for the last year in CS:GO. And it's been like that for pretty much for a long time. There's always been those rivalries where teams have not played other teams on, when you're practicing at home. And according to what a lot of people say, it's like that in all the games. For some reason, the American mentality is just screw everyone else. We want to be the best team, so we're not going to give anyone else practice. Well, that's unfortunate because then nobody gets to practice. So it sucks. So yeah,
Fuck's sake, man.
that's really all I have to say about that.
Oh, I mean, I think you got it all out at least. I mean, can we expect to see you guys boot camping here in Europe then? I mean, with DreamHack Winter coming up, with all these major tournaments going to be wrapping the year, can we expect to have you guys here for like a solid month to boot camp on European soil?
Um, I for a month, I don't think so. It's probably not
I
possible.
mean,
A lot of us have school. A lot of us has work that we can't just take a month off. I mean, it would
yeah.
be great if we could, but it's just not possible. Maybe in the coming year, if things change and maybe we get some financial backing, whatever. If things change and we can do it, I would love to be able to do that. I mean, you see all these teams like even NIP, they have a
They have the
you know
goddamn house now.
yeah, so they're going to be coming for every tournament, I bet now, and you know, I think talking about specifically for the next few tournaments, I think we might be able to get a couple day boot camp, as I said, between MSI and
Yeah.
Sweden, depending on how much we're kind of messed up by the time zone changes. So I mean, we'll see. I don't think we're not going to get any boot camp in for ESEA, and we're not going to be able to get any boot camp in for China. So
So it's kind of a,
DreamHack definitely, if we can. I would love to.
I mean, it's just like a
Even
do or
for
die situation for you guys, really. At this point, it's like show up to the tournament and play the best we goddamn can.
Right, exactly. And it's been like that for. I mean, with when we were with Quantic, we had a boot camp between Copenhagen Games, and we had a few days boot camp between the last CSWC, which wasn't really good because we played at a really bad internet cafe.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We were able to the tournaments we did the best at, which are probably the ESEAs. We did the best without a boot camp. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
Oh, brother. I mean, to be honest, I can't wait to see you guys perform now. I can't wait to see what you guys bring to the table here. I mean, we got tournament after tournament. And you guys are going to be at most of them. So before the end of the year, man, we're going to see a lot of complexity.
Yeah, and kind of going back to that, it's really nice for us because we don't get to play the Europeans that much. So when we try to run our strats, it's a lot of times it's things that the Europeans don't had they've never seen before. They've never really had to adapt to. So a lot of the times we'll catch a team off guard with some random strategy that we've been running that a lot of times it doesn't work against American teams because we end up having to play the same American teams over and over again because it's the only teams that'll play us. So in America, it's like, oh wow, this strat must suck. It never works. But when we play against Europeans, that they have like that more structured play style. A lot of the times, a lot of the strats that we think suck actually end up working.
And it's kind of the catch your opponent by surprise sort of mentality. Did you actually
Yeah,
catch any of the Chinese MSI Beat It finals?
I didn't. Coming from just the names alone, I think I expected Tyloo to win it, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. So I mean, I didn't get a chance to see anything back and watch some of the demos of at least the team that won. And from what I've heard, I heard that they're a lot of the teams are really really fast paced,
Yeah.
faster than even like the Ukrainian Russian style teams, which I don't know how that could be, but I'll have to check it out.
It's ultra aggressive. Yeah, it's like you mentioned, it's like strats that you're not used to seeing. If you watch European teams, if you're constantly watching European games, all of a sudden you see the Chinese play and you're like, what the hell's the matter with these guys? Are they playing matchmaking right now? Like they're just YOLO everywhere. Like just rushing into sites, just really aggressive strategies being pulled out. So now, I mean, I'm really interested to see what you guys bring to the table and see how that shakes things up. It's kind
Yeah.
of That's kind of all there is to it, mate. But I mean, we're running on 40 minutes now, man. So I think it's best to bring this to a close. But do you have anything thanks very much for your time.
No problem. And thank you for interviewing me. And yeah, I want to start getting into more of the casting,
Yeah,
things of the
I heard
game.
your cast with Anders the other day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago now, but yeah, I casted with him, and then like the next day I casted for the MSI America tournament, and then the day after that I casted for that NA Revival thing with Dust Moret.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like my first time streaming ever in my life, or not streaming, casting. I did it 3 days in a row, back to back, which I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun for me, and I would love to be able to be invited to stream cast more with these people. And yeah, I mean,
Well, you got the gift
that's
of gab. That much is clear.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
I look forward to it, man. If you stream, but honestly, now I want to see you play more. Seriously, that's all I can wait for now. But I mean, do you have anything you'd like to say before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to all the fans, the team. I'd like to also give a shout out to the Complexity sponsors: Sound Blaster, Newegg, Origin, Creative, Twitch, QPad, Lead Gaming, Scuff Gaming, and Crash System. So
Hell of a
thanks to all
list.
those people. Thanks to all those people for all the money we get and all the support we get from them. And again, thanks to all the fans for watching us and supporting us. And I hope that we can prove to be the best American team that I think that we can be and we will be.
Fuck yeah. Never better words been said. Well, man, I look forward to meeting you in person, man. Best of luck.
All right, thank you. And I guess will you be at ESWC?
ESWC, I'm not sure. No, I don't think I will be, but I'll be a DreamHack winner for sure.
Then I will see
So
you at Dreamhack Winter.
perfect, man. All right. Well, thanks very much for your time. I'll see you later.
Yep, see you, man.
All right, guys. So that was Complexity Hiko. He was here to give us a few minutes of his time. A few minutes. I mean, this turned into quite a long interview, but I feel like we got a whole lot of perspective on the U.S. scene, and just something fresh to take away with us today. So that was cool. I'm glad. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. So if you did enjoy this kind of content, be sure to hit the sub button at the bottom there, and also check out Cadred.com. They are supporting us here as well. So if you're looking for esports news, that's the place to get it. But guys, that's going to be it for tonight. So thanks all for tuning in. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.